Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. And someone who won't be in F1 at all next year is Franz Tost. We haven't even mentioned him, who will be departing as AlphaTauri team principal at the end of this season to be replaced by Laurent Mekies. It's not Mekies. Apparently, I was correct on that. It's Mekies.
I told you this.
Mekies. Valid sources.
He told it himself.
Yeah. Stop mispronouncing my name.
Yeah.
It's not Becky's.
I was just saying, I've heard Mekies a lot. I've never heard Mekies.
Yeah, no. Apparently it's Mekies. But he's moving from sporting director at Ferrari over to AlphaTauri as part of a bigger shake-up. You've got someone Bayer, can't remember his first name.
Got a new CEO, isn't
Moving
it?
from the FIA over as well to AlphaTauri. Yeah. Franz Tost, who's 67 now. Been at that team for 15 years, I think.
He's the third longest serving team principal, I want to say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He was at
forever just.
He was at BMW Williams before Toro Rosso, and then and end of an era.
Man.
Yeah, you look at how many drivers he's brought through the system.
Yeah.
Said like 15% of the grid was through him, which is pretty.
Something mental.
He's the one who's been entrusted to develop that talent.
Yeah.
I think
That's a big job. I think people think that he just runs like a bottom of the grid team, but no, he is basically one of the key people in the Red Bull Academy. Because like Helmut Marko is, I don't know if he's personally finding them, but he's obviously heading the thing up, and they've all got scouts to get the people in F2. But Franz Tost is actually then coaching them for a year or two, and he's fully developing them. Like that's an important job. He's a key part of the Red Bull organization.
And the drivers, like as you mentioned, like the percentage of drivers on the grid that have come through AlphaTauri, it was higher last season because we still had Seb. But Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, that's a crazy three already. That's a crazy run of three off the bat.
Clearly, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's not bad.
Well, I mean, Yuki, when he was struggling in his rookie season, I think that desire to move him from Milton Keynes to, nearer to Faenza, I think that came from, Franz. And he knows what he's doing to manage these drivers through, and again, deserves a lot of credit for it. My immediate reaction reading the news, and maybe it's because I've thought for a while that team's going to be up for sale. There's significant rumours from very valid sources that they're taking offers. Apparently, they turned down at 800 million. Apparently, they've turned down for the team.
I have it instead.
Imagine turning that down.
Yeah,
do we think, because the way I see it, right, is Franz Tost is a sign of this team being Toro Rosso, basically the B team. He leads. He's like a. I just feel like with that team, with him in charge, it will always feel like the junior team. Sure. I know they quite tried to claim it's a sister team, but if you're trying to sell the asset that is an F1 team, like at the moment, you look at that team as the only team really in F1 with an enforced ceiling. They will never be allowed to be quicker than Red Bull, and fair enough. So if you're going to change the name, change up the personnel in charge, make it not feel like a junior team anymore, bring in a name like Nick De Vries, who didn't even come through the Red Bull Academy. Yeah. Am I just like conspiracy hat on, putting two and two together and getting 7?
It feels like end of an era, and it feels like he was the one holding it together as AlphaTauri Toro Rosso.
As that
once
junior
he goes, it's something different at that point. Yeah, their tent peg has been pulled out. The whole thing's gonna unravel and become something new, is what it feels like.
Yeah, at the precise moment they've decided to hire 50% of the F2 grid to be Red Bull juniors.
Yeah, they've always had like all of them anyway.
Yeah,
because like we were saying in the show, right? When you buy a team, you buy it for the asset. So you buy it for the staff. Again, when Braun bought out Honda, he didn't bring in new people. The people were there.
Yeah,
it's just you change the name that's above the.
You're buying the workforce. Yeah. You can move to a new building, but you're buying that team of like 1,000 or 600 engineers. Yeah. You can't just hire that again. You can't just put out 600 job adverts and get a whole new team. That doesn't happen. You have to just get the whole team as a package.
Yeah, when Lawrence Stroll bought Racing Point, bought Force India, Racing Point. There'll obviously personnel change over time, of course, but you buy it for what it already has. So again, to me, it makes sense. If I'm Red Bull and I want to sell this asset, I want to get maximum value for it, especially if this entry fee goes up from 200 to maybe 600 million. Yeah. I want to bring in a new hotshot young potential. Mekies is going to have a point to prove coming from Ferrari. Yeah. You bought in all these other new CEO. get it in a place where it doesn't feel like a team with an enforced ceiling. It feels like a team with its own genuine potential.
Yeah. The value goes up, doesn't it, immediately, because it's treated as its own team right now. So yeah, I guess I think I can understand your conspiracy for sure. I can see definitely that there are teams or people lurking behind the scenes, looking at AlphaTauri is that's a good place to purchase.
That makes the most sense.
It does, doesn't it? It makes the most sense. And yeah, I think they had to that was kind of probably the last one, isn't it? In terms of weeding it out, just to sort of make it its own team again. I think, yeah, Franz Tost was the last one. But Mekies, did you say his name is? Yeah. What a job you've got. Because next season, the season after that, to keep up the job at the minimum that Franz Tost was doing, that's going to take some tall order. Unless they really just go a whole new direction and it feels like a brand new team. He's got a big job on his hands, and so does the new CEO as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I want to see where maybe AlphaTauri just said, no, do you know what? We want to actually now be fighting at the front of the grid without any Red Bull connection whatsoever and completely split.
Maybe it's just he's 67. He's been maybe he's just retiring.
Yeah, and
maybe there's nothing more to it than that.
Yeah.
He'll be
in conspiracy.
He might be in
No, I hear. Yeah,
it makes sense
though.
It does. And again, I just feel like for everything I've heard in it just feels like even Red Bull, they said themselves, didn't they? Obviously, since Dietrich's passed away, there's new leadership in charge at Red Bull, and how do they justify running and operating an entire Formula One team? It was a big passion project for Dietrich. So I think having two F1 teams, you can't tell me that was financially profitable for Red Bull GmbH as a business. I don't think so. Not having the second team, certainly not maybe the first team.
The first team probably was, but the second team, no.
So, if anyone was to buy, who do we think? Because I think Honda makes the most sense. Because Honda, they were powering Toro Rosso before they were powering Red Bull. Remember, so they've worked with that team before. They've talked to. You've got Tsunoda already in place, young Japanese driver doing bits, and maybe Iwasa Iwasa's a Honda driver as well. So I think Honda makes the most obvious sense. Maybe Andretti as well.
I was going to say Andretti's also a shout, because the factory obviously based over there as well. And they just don't seem to be able to buy their way in, no matter what backing they've got, because no one is letting them. Yeah,
they've got to buy a pre-existing one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It makes sense. Man, Honda, would you choose Honda or Andretti? Where'd you go? If you're AlphaTauri, which offer on the table? Say they're both there. Which one do you take?
Gives you the most money, I guess.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
They both offer, I don't know, 800 million each. The pair of them.
If you're Red Bull, you want Honda because they're still working with Honda from their engines.
Yeah.
They want to keep that good relationship. Give them a seat. It's more sponsorship for them. It's more awareness. Rather than just a tiny little Honda logo as a whole team, they can help each other out in the same way they still do. AlphaTauri gets parts from Red Bull, older parts.
But then
they would want Honda, and it makes them both stronger.
What happens if Honda are fighting for a championship?
Good question.
It gets muddy then, doesn't it?
But then obviously Red Bull are partnering with Ford, aren't they, from 26?
Well, yeah.
So then that Honda relationship will be less.
And less.
I think they're gonna stay running Honda engines till the end of 25. I think.
Yeah.
In terms of the badge on it. I don't know.
Yeah, their badge Red Bull Powertrain Honda.
It's so
Red Bull Racing Powertrain.
Sponsored by Ford. Yeah, it's very, very
They can't
weird.
get their fucking mind up anyway.
No, exactly that.